Hey everyone, welcome to a Discount Ted video, and welcome to the inside of my Nissan Safari, affectionately named Rocco. Just gonna record a quick video while we drive him around. We're gonna go get some dog food. It's a really important Saturday afternoon errand, but I figured this would be a good time to talk about, what is a Safari, why is it cool, and why is it not cool. First thing, what is a Safari? Well, Nissan and everywhere else in the world other than the US made a vehicle called a Nissan Patrol, and it was their competition to the Toyota Land Cruiser. Historically, the Toyota, it just didn't do as well as the Toyota Land Cruiser. If you look at a 1994 Toyota Land Cruiser, that would be an 80 series, versus this is a 60 series 1994 Nissan Safari Patrol. In every measurable way, the 80 series is a better vehicle. So that just continued with all the other generations, and quite frankly, it was just never as good as the Toyota Land Cruiser, and that's why the Land Cruiser's sort of the standard in the world right now. With that said, I'd say that our 60 series Nissan competes more with the 60 series Land Cruiser that came out or ended a few years before this car was made, and compared to that, it has very similar styling, but I'd say better styling. Has a more powerful engine, although still not that powerful. And is just a cooler, more rare rig. So, what is a Patrol Safari? The Safari is just the Japanese version of it. So if it was sold in Japan, they called it a Safari. Everywhere else it was a Patrol. And it's a less good Toyota Land Cruiser, is the bottom line. One of the things that makes the Safari cool, or Patrol cool though, is pretty much every time you drive it, someone's going to recognize, hey, that doesn't look like a car I've seen before, and you get a little nod, a wave, or sometimes people recognize them if they've traveled internationally a lot, or if they're from somewhere else. So sometimes you get cool little nods, and it's a cars and coffee pleaser, right? Of, oh, that's something different. What else? What else is cool about the Safari? So ours is a high top, or a bubble top. That's not something you can get on a Land Cruiser. And I'm 6'3", I'm quite tall, and I've got all this space above me. So it just makes it a massive vehicle. When we park next to a new Suburban or F350 or whatever, we're noticeably taller, despite the fact that we're a smaller vehicle overall. So you get that real Overlander look and feel, and it is a really, really capable Overlander. So, or even just off-roader if you want to go 4x4 trails, what have you. This car has the 4.2 liter inline-6 gas engine. Almost all of them are 4.2 liter inline-6s. They just had a naturally aspirated diesel, a turbo diesel, and a gas engine. This is the injected gas engine, and all that means is it feels very, very torquey. It gets up and moves, feels like it'll pull or push anything that you want, but it makes almost no power. So it's unstoppable but not fast, very diesel type feeling. And in the gas version, it's also very thirsty. I've owned almost 30 vehicles. This is by far and away the least fuel efficient vehicle I've ever owned. Good news for me, I don't drive anywhere, right? So once a week maybe I hop in this and I go 5 or 6 miles, so it's not a big deal. Some of the other reasons you might look at a Safari as opposed to, say, a Patrol, or why I picked this Safari out of all of them, I'll say. Patrols are really popular in Australia, so I have to order a lot of parts out of Australia. That's one of the things that's not cool about owning a vehicle that's not made in the US or not sold in the US, is if I need new parts, there's very little that crosses over with other cars that are available here, and what I end up having to do is order from Australia or Japan, and fortunately the exchange rate to Australia is pretty good, so it's not all that expensive, but it does take a long time. Last thing I had to order, I ordered a window regulator for the passenger rear or left rear window there. It was $50 or so, so not a big deal, but it did take 3.5 weeks to get here. So if you have something break, you just have to figure that the car is going to be down and out for a while. But why I got this Safari as opposed to, say, getting a Patrol out of Australia, all that, part of it, shipping costs from Australia to the US versus shipping from Japan to the US. It is cheaper and easier to get shipping from Japan. But the bigger part is how people use their vehicles in those different countries. Australia, why these are popular there is, these are tough. They go through the bush, and you can use the ever-living bejesus out of them. In Japan, it's just not that big of a country, and so people don't drive that much. So this Safari has 151,000 kilometers on it right now. We bought it with, I think, 142,000 kilometers. So, around 100,000 miles or a little under that. And trying to find a patrol in South America or Spain or Australia with less than 300,000 kilometers is just almost not doable. So why I went specifically to Japan and get a Safari as opposed to a patrol out of one of those other countries, that's it, is I just wanted a low mile, lightly used one. The right-hand driveness of it, while it's very cool, it's a bit of a party trick. I will be the first one to admit to you, driving around on the right-hand side is a little annoying. When you go into parking spots, it's often tighter to get out of that side. If you need to go through a drive-through, you better have a friend with you, or in my case, a indentured servant, my wife. But yeah, the right-hand drive aspect of it's interesting to start, and then a little annoying later. It's not so annoying that I want to get rid of it, let me be clear. But if all things being equal, if I could have got a patrol, particularly from like a good market, for the same price, I would have. Our Safari is also kind of an interesting color. I did look out for that because you see a lot of them, they're just gray or black or something to that effect, and I wanted something that stood out a bit. So it's a deep green with a gold sort of trim, and that's the big stuff. So what are the things that make it cool? To recap, it gets nods everywhere. It is a fun off-roader. It's got a ton of space in it. We can camp in it. We can go anywhere we want. What are the things that make it less cool? It's just a lot more work to keep it running, a lot more money to keep it running with the fuel. And, obscure, as interesting as it is, also presents challenges. So, but here's a good example. There's an F-250 that we are eyeball level with. So there you go. We're a nice big guy right next to a big truck. Keep your eyes out. I'll have some more videos coming. In fact, probably very shortly after this, I'm going to do an oil change on it, talk about how I found an oil filter for it as well, since, again,